Welcome to Chinese History and Mythology.
Hey friends, welcome back to Chinese History and Mythology. Our story began with the investiture of the gods, and it has taken us through the Xia, Sheng, and Zhou, and then into the great Qin Empire. But after the Qin dynasty, there was another regime that existed for only a very short time. Some of you may already know its name. It was Western Chu. When we turn our eyes to the end of the 3rd century BCE, that ancient land in the east was going through a violent upheaval unlike anything it had seen before. The rule of the Qin had just collapsed, like a massive iceberg melting away under the sun, leaving behind broken fragments and muddy floodwaters everywhere. In that moment of political vacuum, all kinds of forces rose up one after another, trying to fill the vast territory that had once been covered by black banners. Among them, the power that came from the southern land of Chu was the most striking. It returned to the center of the historical stage, carrying its own cultural identity and a strong desire for revenge. This period is known as Western Chu. Although in official history it lasted only 4 short years, from 206 BCE to 202 BCE, the cultural conflict, political struggle, and human drama within those years became a subject that later generations kept returning to again and again. For foreign friends who are not familiar with this part of history, the key to understanding Western Chu is this: it was not just a regime. It was also an attempt at cultural revival and a fierce counterattack by the old aristocratic order against the newly emerging system of centralized imperial rule. Let us first go back to the final days before the fall of the Qin dynasty. Qin Shi Huang united the 6 states and built a highly centralized empire. He introduced a series of standardizing policies. He unified the writing system, the currency, and the systems of weights and measures. He even set a standard width for the distance between carriage wheels. These policies greatly improved administrative efficiency, but they also heavily suppressed the local cultural traditions that had existed in different regions. This feeling of suppression was especially strong in the former territory of Chu. The land of Chu had a long history and a unique cultural system of its own. Its beliefs, customs, and sense of beauty were fundamentally different from those of the northern Qin state. Qin culture admired practicality, enforced harsh laws, and favored the color black, which symbolized the element of water. It gave off a cold and severe feeling. The culture of Chu was completely different. The people of Chu admired red, believed deeply in spirits and gods, and loved splendid decoration and romantic music. In their character, there was something wild and unrestrained. They loved singing, they loved dancing, and even in war, their bravery carried a kind of theatrical spirit. When the hard power of Qin came down on them, both the nobles and the common people of Chu planted seeds of resentment deep in their hearts. Among the people, a saying began to spread: even if Chu were reduced to only a few households, it would still be Chu that destroyed Qin. This line expressed the strong desire and confidence of the people of Chu to restore their homeland. After the death of Qin Shi Huang, as the foolish rule of the second emperor and the harshness of Qin policy grew even worse, that emotion quickly turned into open resistance. The social turmoil at the end of the Qin dynasty began with uprisings from the common people. Chen Sheng and Guang raised the banner of rebellion in Dazexiang. Although their rebel army was ultimately defeated, they lit the flames of resistance across the land. In this process, the noble descendants of the old 6 states responded one after another, hoping to restore their former glory. It was in this background that Xiang Yu stepped onto the front stage of history. He was the grandson of Xiang Yan, a famous general of Chu, and he came from a traditional military aristocratic family. That kind of background gave him a very strong sense of honor, but it also placed a heavy burden of history on his shoulders. From childhood, he received the traditional education of the nobility, studying swordsmanship and military strategy. But because of the fierceness and pride in his character, he looked down on the kind of detailed administrative knowledge that he saw as trivial. He believed more in personal martial strength and battlefield decisions, and this trait shaped his later political path. Xiang Yu's uncle, Sheng Liang, was an important leader of the Chu uprising forces at that time. They set up a descendant of the Chu royal house as a puppet king, calling him King Huai of Chu, in order to rally the anti-Qin forces in different regions. In Chinese history, there has never been a shortage of famous generals. The image of a military commander was not always as rough and rugged as we may imagine. Among them were quite a few men who combined strength with striking good looks. Xiang Yu of Western Chu, the Prince of Lanling of Northern Qi, Zhao Yun of the Three Kingdoms period, and Dazexiang of the northern Song were all handsome men recorded in history. Among them, the image of Xiang Yu, the hegemon king of Western Chu, was especially distinctive. According to official histories such as the records of the Grand Historian and the Book of Han, Xiang Yu was more than 8 chi tall. If we use the Qin and Han standard of 1 chi being about 23.1 centimeters, then his height was close to 1.9 meters. More than 2,000 years ago, that was without question the height of a giant. On top of that, the record that he had the strength to lift a great bronze cauldron directly shows that he had a huge and powerful build and extraordinary strength. What is even more remarkable is that legend says Xiang Yu was born with double pupils, meaning 2 pupils in one eye. In ancient times, this was seen as the sign of a ruler, and it added an even more mysterious layer to his already powerful image. So when people say Xiang Yu was handsome, it was not the soft or delicate kind of good looks. It was a natural, overwhelming kind of presence, full of dominance and power. In everyday life, we have probably all seen people like that. Some people just seem to be born with a presence that sets them apart, and in any crowd, they stand out immediately. As the war against Qin deepened, Xiang Yu showed astonishing military talent. He rose to fame in the Battle of Julu, a battle that became a turning point in the fall of the Qin dynasty. At that time, the main Qin army was surrounding the city of Julu in the state of Zhao. The armies of the other lords did not dare to go forward to rescue it. They only camped nearby and watched. After Xiang Yu led the Chu army across the river, he ordered the boats to be sunk, the cooking pots to be smashed, and the camps to be burned. The army carried only 3 days' worth of dry rations. This desperate move sent a very clear message to the soldiers. There was no way back, and the only path was victory. In that desperate situation, the soldiers of Chu erupted with astonishing fighting power. Each man fought as if he were worth 10. Their battle cries shook the sky, and in the end, they crushed the main force of the Qin army. This victory not only established Xiang Yu's leading position among the armies of the lords, but also greatly destroyed the military power of the Qin dynasty. From a cultural point of view, this battle reflected the resolute and fearless character of the people of Chu. They were not good at calculating logistics or planning retreat routes. They preferred to solve everything through one decisive victory. This style of warfare stood in sharp contrast to the Qin army, which was disciplined, methodical, and relied on logistics and battle formations. After the Battle of Julu, Xiang Yu led the allied armies of the feudal lords westward, with their eyes fixed on Guangzhou, the core region of the Qin dynasty. At the same time, another army led by Liu Bang was also moving toward Guangzhou. King Huai of Chu had once made an agreement with the generals. Whoever entered Guangzhou first would be allowed to become its king. Liu Bang was the first to enter Guangzhou, and he accepted the surrender of Qin King Xiang. According to that agreement, Liu Bang should have become the king of Guangzhou. However, Xiang Yu arrived soon after. He held overwhelming military power, and he did not accept that agreement. He believed that he was the one who had destroyed the main force of the Qin army, and that he should hold the highest authority. That was what caused the tension between the two sides. After Xiang Yu entered Xianyang, he carried out a series of acts filled with symbolic meaning. He killed Qin King Xiang, who had already surrendered, and he burned the Qin palaces. The fire lasted for 3 months. To later generations, this looked like destruction, but at that time, it was an outpouring of revenge. For the people of Chu, the Qin dynasty had killed their loved ones, destroyed their state, and crushed their world. Burning the palaces was a complete rejection of Qin tyranny. On top of that, Xiang Yu also seized the treasures and women from the Qin palace and prepared to return east to his homeland. Some people advised him to make Guangzhou his capital because the land there was strategically protected, fertile, and well-suited for building a great power. But Xiang Yu said that if wealth and honor were not brought back to one's homeland, it was like wearing splendid embroidered clothes while walking in the night. No one would see it. This line shows his deep attachment to his homeland and his understanding of aristocratic honor. What mattered more to him was showing his success to the elders and people of his home region, not thinking like a strategist about the long-term rule of a state. This may also be another reason why Western Chu did not last very long in Chinese history. In Xianyang, Xiang Yu divided the land among 18 feudal lords and named himself the hegemon king of Western Chu. This title is very interesting. A hegemon king was not an emperor, but the chief among the lords. That means Xiang Yu did not fully inherit the imperial system created by the Qin dynasty. Instead, He restored something closer to the feudal order of the Zhou dynasty. He divided the former Qin lands among 3 surrendered Qin generals, who became known as the Three Qins, in order to restrain Liu Bang. He assigned Liu Bang to the remote regions of Bashu and Hanzhong, giving him the title King of Han. This system of enfeoffment reflected Xiang Yu's political ideal. He hoped to build a League of Lords under his leadership, rather than a centralized empire. However, by that time, this system already looked outdated. After several decades of Qin rule, people had become used to unified laws and a unified administrative system. The feudal order led to conflicts of interest among the regional lords, and before long, they began attacking one another. As hegemon king, Xiang Yu had to keep settling these conflicts and maintaining order, and that consumed a great deal of his energy. On top of that, his distribution of land was not fair. Many men with real merit did not receive the rewards they deserved, while many descendants of the old aristocracy did receive land. This caused widespread dissatisfaction. The instability of this political structure laid the groundwork for the later Chu-Han War. Liu Bang gathered strength in Hanzhong and adopted Han Xin's advice. On the surface, he repaired the plank roads, but in secret, he moved through Chencang and quickly took control of the Guangzhou region. This marked the formal beginning of the Chu-Han War. The war lasted 4 years, and it became one of the most famous civil wars in Chinese history. The two sides in this war represented 2 very different political paths and cultural traditions. Xiang Yu stood for the old aristocratic forces, with their focus on personal bravery, honor, and the feudal order of divided rule. Liu Bang stood for the rising power of commoners, with an emphasis on pragmatism, the use of talent, and centralized rule. Liu Bang came from the level of local officials. He was flexible in character and very good at employing people. Under him, Xiao He handled logistics, Zhang Liang handled strategy, and Han Xin handled military command. Each of these 3 men had his own strength, and together they formed a highly effective team. By comparison, Xiang Yu was personally very capable, but he did not trust the people under him. Many talented men were never truly valued by him, and one after another, they turned to Liu Bang. Han Xin is one example. He once served under Xiang Yu, but he was given only a small post as a palace guard official, and his military advice was not accepted. Later, he joined Liu Bang and was appointed as a great general. In the end, he became a key figure in helping Liu Bang win. This movement of talent reflected the social changes of the time. The old system, in which the aristocracy monopolized political resources, was being broken, and men of common birth could rise to high position through military merit and ability. The course of the Chu-Han War was full of twists and turns, and both sides had victories and defeats. On the battlefield, Xiang Yu was almost unbeatable. Again and again, he defeated Liu Bang's armies, and at one point he even came close to capturing Liu Bang himself. In the Battle of Pengcheng, Xiang Yu led 30,000 elite troops and defeated Liu Bang's army of 500,000. Liu Bang fled in panic, and to lighten the weight of his carriage, he even pushed his own children off it. However, Xiang Yu was never able to turn military victories into political advantage. Every time he took a place, he often could not secure his rule there, and rebellions frequently broke out behind his lines. Liu Bang, though he lost battles again and again, had Guangzhou as a stable base. Xiao He was able to keep sending him soldiers and grain without interruption. In the end, this difference in logistical strength decided the direction of the war. After the war entered a stalemate, the two sides faced each other around Xingyang and Chengao. Xiang Yu's grain routes were often cut off by Liu Bang's forces. His soldiers lacked food, and their morale fell lower and lower. Liu Bang, meanwhile, used diplomacy to unite other feudal lords against Xiang Yu. He also took advantage of Xiang Yu's suspicious nature and used a scheme to sow distrust, causing Xiang Yu to grow distant from Fan Zheng, his only true strategist. Fan Zheng was Xiang Yu's Yafu, a senior elder and advisor of his uncle's generation. He was deeply experienced and shrewd, and many times he urged Xiang Yu to eliminate Liu Bang, but Xiang Yu could never make up his mind. In anger, Fan Zheng left him and died of illness on the road. After losing Fan Zheng, Xiang Yu became even more isolated and blind in his political decisions. In the later stage of the war, Xiang Yu's position became more and more difficult. His army was surrounded at Gaixia, a place in what is now Anhui. It was winter then, and the cold wind cut through everything. The Chu army had already run out of food and supplies. Liu Bang's army, together with the armies of the feudal lords who had joined him, surrounded the Chu forces layer upon layer. Their number reached several 100,000, while Xiang Yu's troops had fewer than 100,000 left. At night, the Han army began to sing songs from the land of Chu on all sides. This psychological tactic was extremely effective. When the Chu soldiers heard the songs of their homeland, they believed that Chu had already fallen to the Han army. Homesickness rose in their hearts at once, and their morale completely collapsed. This is where the famous saying, "surrounded by songs of Chu on all sides," comes from.
Sitting in his camp, Sheng Yu heard those songs and was struck with shock. In that moment, he understood that he had already fallen into a hopeless situation. So then, what is the first story behind Farewell My Concubine? In the winter of 202 BCE, Xiang Yu was surrounded by enemy forces in a place called Dazexiang, in what is roughly today's Anhui province. His army had very few men left, their food was almost gone, and enemy camps surrounded them on every side. Then, on that night, something strange happened. Xiang Yu heard familiar songs coming from all directions. They were folk songs from his homeland of Chu. He was deeply shocked, because he thought his homeland must already have been taken by the enemy. Otherwise, how could there be so many people singing songs of Chu? In fact, this was a trick by the enemy. They had their soldiers learn Chu songs so that Xiang Yu's army would believe their homeland had already fallen and lose the will to fight. This psychological tactic worked very well, and the morale of the Chu army began to collapse. Xiang Yu knew that the situation was beyond saving. In his tent, he drank wine. At his side were the two companions closest to him, a warhorse named Wu Zui and a beautiful woman named Yu. Yu was not his wife. She was the woman he loved most, and she had followed him through campaigns in every direction. On that hopeless night, Xiang Yu sang a song. Its meaning was roughly this: "I have the strength to pull up mountains, and a spirit that rises above all others, but fate is against me, and now even my warhorse will not go forward. If the horse will not go forward, what can I do? And what am I supposed to do with you, my beauty?" The song is very simple. It has no ornate language. It is just the true sigh of a man standing in a dead end. After hearing it, Yu also sang a song in reply. Unfortunately, historians still debate whether that reply song truly existed, because the earliest text that recorded it appeared relatively late. After the songs ended, Xiang Yu cried. The people around him also cried, and no one dared to raise his head and look at him. This scene is very important because it shows the fragile side of a powerful leader. Xiang Yu was not a man who hid his emotions. His sorrow was real, and it was out in the open. What happened next is recorded quite clearly in history. Xiang Yu led more than 800 cavalrymen and broke out under cover of night. They raced south all the way, but the pursuing troops stayed close behind them. After crossing a river, he had only a little more than 100 men left at his side. When he lost his way, he asked a farmer for directions. The farmer deliberately pointed him the wrong way, which led him into a swamp, and the pursuers caught up with him. This detail matters very much, because it shows that Xiang Yu had already lost the support of ordinary people. He had done some cruel things before, such as burning palaces and killing surrendered soldiers. Even if these acts came out of revenge, they also cost him the support of the people. In the end, Xiang Yu came to the bank of a great river at a place called Wujiang. A local minor official had a boat prepared and urged him to cross the river and return to Jiangdong. Jiangdong was Xiang Yu's home region. There were still lands and people there, and in theory, he could have rebuilt his strength and started again. But Xiang Yu refused. He said, "When I first set out, I led 8,000 young men from Jiangdong with me, and now not one of them is alive to return. Even if the elders of my homeland were still willing to support me, how could I possibly face them?" After saying this, he gave his war horse to that local official, then got off his horse and fought on foot. Alone, he killed several hundred enemies, and in the end, he cut his own throat and died. Now let us return to the question of Yu. In the earliest and most reliable historical record, Sima Khan only wrote that on the night at Dazexiang, Yu sang with Xiang Yu. After that, he never mentioned her again. There is no clear record that she killed herself, and there is no description of any other ending either. The later version, in which consort Yu draws a sword and takes her own life to prove her devotion, was added by later opera and fiction. These artistic additions made the story more complete and more moving, but from a historical point of view, we cannot say for certain what finally happened to Yu. She may have died in the chaos of battle.
She may have broken away after escaping with Xiang Yu. She may also really have chosen to end her own life. History gives us no answer why has this story been remembered for 2,000 years. Because it is not only about the outcome of a war, it is about the choices people make when facing fate. Xiang Yu had ability, courage, and honor, but he did not understand politics. He did not understand human hearts, and he did not understand compromise. He would rather die than accept the humiliation of living after defeat. That kind of character made him a hero, but it also made him a loser. Although very little was recorded about Yu, her role represents companionship and loyalty. In a person's darkest moment, to have someone willing to face it together with him is a feeling that crosses time and culture. In some ways, Farewell My Concubine is a little like certain tragic hero stories in Western history, such as Hannibal or Napoleon. They were military geniuses, but in the end, they were defeated by opponents who were better at politics and organization. The difference is that Chinese culture places special value on this image of the defeated hero. Xiang Yu lost, yet later generations still admired his courage and his integrity. This way of thinking is not quite the same as the logic that says the winner is king. It values a person's character in the process, not only the final result. Later, the story of Farewell My Concubine became a classic tragic theme in Chinese literature and opera. It is not just a love story, it also symbolizes the end of an era. Xiang Yu's death marked the end of the Western Shitu regime, and it also marked the end of the Chu-Han War. After Xiang Yu died, Liu Bang founded the Han dynasty and became Emperor Gaozu of Han. In terms of institutions, the Han dynasty inherited most of the Qin system. It kept centralized rule and continued the commandery and county system. But in cultural terms, the Han dynasty was deeply shaped by Chu culture. Liu Bang himself was a man of Chu, and he loved the songs and dances of Chu. Much of the court music of the Han came from the land of Chu, and the colors of Han clothing also leaned toward red, which matched the tradition of Chu. It can be said that the Han dynasty was built on the institutional framework of Qin, with the cultural core of Chu. This combination gave the Han both strong administrative power and a relatively relaxed cultural atmosphere. Although Western Shitu disappeared as a political regime, its cultural heritage flowed into the Han dynasty and became an important part of Chinese civilization. The image of Xiang Yu also changed greatly in later ages. In the official histories, he was a defeated hero. Sima Qian placed him in the basic annals, at the same level as emperors, and this was a recognition of his historical importance. In folk stories and traditional opera, he became a symbol of loyalty, bravery, and a fate filled with tragedy. People sympathized with what happened to him, admired his courage, and at the same time sighed over the flaws in his character. The Western Shitu period was an important process of internal fusion within Chinese civilization. Qin culture represented the farming civilization of the northwestern plateau. It emphasized order, discipline, and collectivism. Chu culture represented the rice-growing civilization of the Zhanghan Plain. It emphasized individuality, emotion, and the worship of nature. The collision between these two cultures created tremendous sparks. The Qin dynasty tried to unify all regions under a single culture, and the result was fierce resistance. The Han dynasty, by contrast, took a more inclusive approach and allowed different local cultures to coexist within certain limits. The spirit medium culture of Chu, its myths and legends, and its romantic literary tradition all continued to develop under the Han. For example, Hanfu literature was deeply influenced by the songs of Chu. It favored rich description, parallel phrasing, and ornate language. This literary style was completely different from the plain and practical style of Qin official writing. The wars of the Western Chu period also promoted the development of military technology. Cavalry became more widely used, and iron weapons began to replace bronze ones. As warfare expanded in scale, logistics became more important, and this pushed forward progress in transportation and agriculture. I wonder whether any of you have noticed that after telling Chinese history for so long,
Consort Yu seems to be the first female figure recorded in this history. If we talk about the most famous female figure in Chinese history, then of course that would be Wu Ziqian of the Tang dynasty. But if we calculate according to the sequence of historical events, then Consort Yu seems to be the first female figure in Chinese history whose name stands alongside rulers. In ancient warfare, women usually stood at the margins, but in the story of the Chu-Han War, Consort Yu became a key emotional symbol. Her presence softened the cruelty of war and added a touch of human feeling to this bloody chapter of history. The reason the story of Farewell My Concubine has been passed down for thousands of years is that it touches on a shared human emotion, the feeling of helplessness before fate and loyalty in love. Chinese people place great importance on the lessons of history. The rise and fall of every dynasty is seen as a moral and political case. Xiang Yu's failure is explained as the result of flaws in character and political immaturity. Liu Bang's success is explained as the result of his skill in using talented people and his ability to follow the will of the people. This system of judgment carries a very strong moral tone. At the same time, Chinese people have a special love for tragic heroes. Guan Yu, Yu Fei, and Xiang Yu all failed in their worldly cause, but in character they are seen as noble. This value system is different from the Western view of history that often centers on the winner. In Chinese culture, the justice of the process and the wholeness of a person's character can sometimes matter more than the final result.
The social customs of the Western Chu period are also worth exploring. At that time, people wore wide robes with large sleeves, and nobles wore jade ornaments as a sign of virtue. People in Chu also liked tattoos because they believed tattoos could drive away evil. Yes, you heard that right. Tattooing was already popular in ancient China. Even though you do not see many tattooed people on the streets of China today, during the Western Chu period, people were actually very enthusiastic about tattoos. After all, ancient Chinese people, who believed deeply in feng shui and the 8 trigrams, thought a tattoo was like a protective charm carved onto the body. It could ward off evil and keep wandering spirits from coming near. In terms of food, people in the south liked rice and fish, while people in the north preferred millet and meat. This regional difference came into contact during the war. Soldiers came from different places, and in the camps they shared food and customs, which helped cultural traditions blend together. Funeral customs were also different. The people of Chu valued lavish burials, and their tombs contained rich grave goods, including bronzeware, lacquerware, silk, and other items. The great scale of Qin Shi Huang's tomb reflects how much importance people placed on the world after death. Xiang Yu's act of burning the Qin tombs was seen at the time as a very serious crime, and this also became one reason he lost the support of the people. In the early Han, the rulers adopted a policy of rest and recovery. They simplified funerals and reduced taxes, and this allowed the economy to recover. This change in policy reflected the rulers' reflection on the harsh rule of the Qin dynasty. In terms of religious belief, witchcraft was very popular in the land of Chu. Yes, that ancient Eastern mysterious power, witchcraft, really did exist in Chinese history, and there are historical records of it. Witches and shamans held a very high position in Western Chu society. They were responsible for communicating between humans and spirits, healing illness, and praying for blessings. When the kings of Chu made important decisions, they often consulted these ritual specialists. This color of rule mixed with sacred authority was actually weakened during the Qin dynasty, because Qin believed more in law and human effort.
In other words, Qin Shi Huang believed that trusting himself was better than trusting anyone else. On this point, it has to be said that Qin Shi Huang was right. Just look at the betrayal by Li Si and Zhao Gao after his death, and you can see that for emperors, trusting themselves was more reliable than trusting any other force. After the Han dynasty was established, although it inherited the laws of Qin, it also restored some traditional ritual activities. Liu Bang once offered sacrifices to Confucius, and he also offered sacrifices to local gods in different regions. This kind of diverse religious policy helped stabilize social order. During the Western Qi period, all kinds of prophecies and omens were in circulation, and people believed in the mandate of heaven. Xiang Yu believed that he had the strength to lift a great cauldron and that he was a hero by birth. Part of this confidence came from his worship of his own strength. Liu Bang, by contrast, was good at using the idea of heaven's will. He claimed that he was the son of the Red Emperor and that he had killed the son of the White Emperor. This kind of myth-based political message helped strengthen his legitimacy. Using religion and myth in the service of politics was something very common throughout Chinese history. Although the history of Western Qi was short, it was a key period that linked what came before and what came after. It ended the violent rule of the Qin dynasty and opened the way for the flourishing age of the Han dynasty. It proved that military strength alone could not maintain long-term rule. Political wisdom and the support of the people were the true keys to success or failure. Xiang Yu's tragedy reminded later generations that individual heroism has limits in complex political struggles. Liu Bang's success showed the importance of teamwork and institution building. This period of history became a textbook for later politicians and rulers. Whenever dynasties changed, people would look back at this history and search for lessons from it.
The geographical layout of the Western Qi period also influenced the later map of China. The 18 feudal lords enfeoffed by Xiang Yu roughly covered the main regions of China at that time. Although that division ultimately failed, it reflected how people of that era understood geographical regions. Concepts such as Guangzhong, Hedong, Henan, Jianghuai, and Jiangnan had already taken shape by then. On that foundation, the Han dynasty later established commanderies and counties, laying down the basic territorial framework of China proper. Transportation routes were also opened up during the war. Plank roads and waterways were widely used for military transport, and later they were turned to civilian use, which promoted economic exchange between different regions. The silk and lacquerware of Chu spread north through the war, while iron tools and horses from the north also moved south. This exchange of material culture laid the foundation for the economic prosperity of the Han dynasty. In the historical story of Western Qi, there is another important theme, and that is loyalty and betrayal. One story is how Han Xin left Xiang Yu and went over to Liu Bang, and another is how Chen Ping also left Xiang Yu and joined Liu Bang. Let us first talk about how Han Xin left Xiang Yu and went over to Liu Bang. The story of Han Xin leaving Xiang Yu and joining Liu Bang runs through that sweeping and dramatic age at the end of the Qin dynasty. The root of it was simple. Han Xin had great ambition and real talent, but he never had a chance to use either of them under Xiang Yu. And the turning point in the whole story came from the sharp eye of one key figure in Liu Bang's camp. Han Xin was originally a poor young man from Huaiyin. When the world fell into chaos and rival powers rose everywhere, he carried his military learning and his sword into the army. At first, he served under Shang Liang, who was Xiang Yu's uncle. Unfortunately, before Han Xin had any chance to stand out, Shang Liang was defeated in battle and died. After that, Han Xin came under Xiang Yu, Shang Liang's nephew. Xiang Yu gave Han Xin the post of Langgzhong. The title may sound respectable, but the actual work was simply to hold a long halberd and stand guard outside his lord's tent. In today's words, he was no more than a guard responsible for security. For Han Xin, who had high ambitions and longed to command armies across the battlefield, this was clearly a huge waste of his ability. But what truly made him lose heart was not the low rank of the position. It was the fact that his advice was rejected again and again. Historical records say that Han Xin offered military plans to Xiang Yu many times, but Xiang Yu, proud of his own bravery and stubbornly self-confident, completely looked down on Han Xin's ideas and thought they were not worth hearing. Not only that, because Han Xin had once endured the humiliation of crawling between another man's legs in his youth, Xiang Yu believed he was a timid and weak person and looked down on him even more. Here it is worth explaining that Han Xin's humiliation of crawling between another man's legs is also very famous in history. Although later generations praised Han Xin as one of the three great heroes of the early Han, his younger years were extremely miserable. He lost his parents when he was very young, and his family was poor. He was never recommended by the authorities for office, and he was also not good at making a living through business. Very often, he did not know where his next meal would come from, and sometimes he had to rely on relatives and friends for food. At that time, Han Xin was tall and liked to carry a sword with him, but this lonely and out-of-place manner made him an easy target for mockery and bullying by idle troublemakers in the area. One day, in the market streets of Huaiyin, a group of young bullies blocked Han Xin's way. Among them was a young butcher who made his living slaughtering pigs. Relying on the fact that he had numbers on his side, he stepped forward and publicly stopped Han Xin. He looked Han Xin up and down, then began to provoke him.
He said that although Han Xin looked tall and strong and carried a sword, deep down he was nothing but a complete coward. When he saw Han Xin remain silent, the butcher grew even bolder. He walked right up to Han Xin, spread his legs apart, pointed beneath them, and insulted him in a harsh voice. He said, "You have a sword, don't you? If you're not afraid to die, then stab me with it. But if you are afraid, then crawl right under my legs." Faced with such naked humiliation, Han Xin did not fly into a rage like an ordinary person might have done, and he did not pull out his sword in anger. Instead, he made a decision that left everyone stunned. In the end, he bent down, lowered himself, and really did crawl on the ground through the butcher's legs in full view of the crowd filling the street. Right after that, the whole marketplace exploded with deafening laughter. People pointed at Han Xin's back and treated him as a spineless coward with no courage at all. Many years later, Han Xin performed unmatched service in the founding of the Han dynasty and was made king of Chu. When he returned home in glory, the butcher who had once humiliated him was terrified. He was afraid Han Xin would kill him to avenge the insult of those years, so he came bearing generous gifts to apologize. What no one expected was that Han Xin not only did not take revenge, he generously forgave him and even promoted him to serve as one of his own guards. Han Xin explained to everyone that when that man humiliated him back then, it was not that he lacked the ability to kill him, but killing a street bully would have meant nothing. It was exactly that shame from those years that kept piercing him and driving him to push himself forward, and in the end, that was what made him who he had become. Now let us return to the matter of Han Xin betraying Xiang Yu and joining Liu Bang. While Han Xin was still on Xiang Yu's side, even Xiang Yu's Yafu Fan Zheng had already seen that Han Xin was no ordinary man. Again and again, he recommended Han Xin to Xiang Yu. He even warned him with a very direct line, "If you want to use him, then use him heavily, and if you do not want to use him, then kill him." But the proud hegemon king of Chu never took this seriously. After going through disappointment again and again, Han Xin finally understood that as long as he stayed in Western Chu, he would never have a real chance to rise. So he made up his mind, left Xiang Yu's camp without hesitation, and turned instead to Liu Bang, who had been enfeoffed as king of Han. However, after Han Xin joined Liu Bang, his situation did not improve right away. At first, Liu Bang also failed to see his outstanding talent. He casually gave him a small post called Lianao, which involved receiving guests in the army and handling minor duties. Once again, Han Xin felt the frustration of being looked down on. Even worse, not long after that, Han Xin broke military law and, together with 13 others, was sentenced to death. One by one, the others were executed. When it came Han Xin's turn, he suddenly raised his head and saw Xiahou Ying, one of Liu Bang's important ministers, passing by at that exact moment. Han Xin immediately shouted, "Does the king of Han not wish to achieve the great task of taking the world? Then why kill a strong man like me?" Xiahou Ying turned when he heard this. He saw that this man spoke in no ordinary way, had a powerful build, and carried himself with unusual presence, so he immediately ordered that Han Xin be released. After that, Xiahou Ying spoke with Han Xin at length, and to his surprise, he found that this man had a very deep understanding of military books and battlefield strategy. He spoke with unusual insight and had broad knowledge, so Xiahou Ying greatly admired him and at once recommended him to Liu Bang. Out of respect for Xiahou Ying, Liu Bang spared Han Xin and even promoted him, giving him the post of Zisu Duwei in charge of managing the army's grain and supplies. But this was still a logistics position, not the kind of command role Han Xin truly longed for. It was during his time as Zisu Duwei that Han Xin's fate finally reached its real turning point, because this was when he came to know Zhao He, one of Liu Bang's most important advisors. Zhao He had a true eye for talent. Through many long talks with Han Xin that lasted deep into the night, he gradually realized that the young man before him was a rare military genius, the kind one might not see once in 100 years. His strategy and ability were enough to change the entire balance of the world. So Zhao He repeatedly and earnestly recommended him to Liu Bang, hoping he would be given real responsibility. Yet Liu Bang, perhaps because Han Xin came from a poor background, or perhaps because of the story of the humiliation he had once suffered, always brushed Zhao He's recommendation aside and never truly took it to heart. Han Xin saw that Liu Bang still treated him with neither warmth nor trust, and he thought again of those bitter years under Xiang Yu when his talent had also gone nowhere. He felt both disappointed and angry, and came to believe that this place too was not where his ambitions would ever find a home. At that time, Liu Bang's army was homesick, morale was unstable, and every day some men slipped away and deserted. One night, Han Xin also lost heart. He packed his things, mounted a horse, and quietly left the Han camp. When Xiao He heard that Han Xin had run away, he was deeply alarmed. He knew that if this man left, there would be no one left in the world who could truly help Liu Bang win the realm. So without even taking time to report to Liu Bang, he mounted his horse and rode after him through the moonlit night. Xiao He chased him for 2 days and 2 nights, and finally caught up with Han Xin beside a stream. After sincere and repeated persuasion, he finally convinced him to turn back and return to the Han camp. This became the famous story later passed down among the people as Xiao He chasing Han Xin under the moon. After bringing Han Xin back, Xiao He went once again to see Liu Bang, and this time his attitude was unusually firm. Facing Liu Bang's anger, Xiao He spoke plainly and held nothing back. He said, "Ordinary generals are easy enough to find, but a man like Han Xin is unmatched in the world. If your majesty only wants to stay trapped in Hanzhong for the rest of your life, then yes, you do not need Han Xin. But if you truly want to go east and fight for the realm, then apart from Han Xin, there is no one else who can help you achieve great things." After hearing this, Liu Bang finally came to his senses. He decided to follow Xiao He's advice and at once appoint Han Xin as a general. But Xiao He said, "If you only make him a general, in the end you still will not be able to keep him." Liu Bang clenched his teeth and immediately declared that he would appoint Han Xin as great general, placing the whole army under his command. Only then was Xiao He satisfied. He then solemnly advised Liu Bang that he must choose an auspicious day, purify himself with fasting and bathing, personally build a high platform, and hold an extremely grand ceremony for presenting the seal of command. Only in this way could he show real sincerity and respect, and make Han Xin willing to serve with a full heart. Liu Bang truly followed Xiao He's arrangement. He built a solemn platform for appointing the general, and with the highest ritual honor, he formally appointed Han Xin as great general. From that moment on, Han Xin finally gained the stage he had dreamed of. From then forward, he was able to display his astonishing military genius, offering plans for Liu Bang, taking cities, seizing land, and in the end helping the king of Han win the world and lay the foundation for the 400-year Han dynasty. So just now, we also mentioned another case, Chen Ping leaving Xiang Yu and going over to Liu Bang. So what exactly happened there? Chen Ping first joined Xiang Yu, and he had once been ordered to successfully persuade Sima Ang, the king of Yin, to surrender. Because of that, he received a reward from Xiang Yu, but the turning point came very quickly. Not long after, Liu Bang's army took back Yin territory, and Sima Ang once again betrayed Xiang Yu and surrendered to Liu Bang. Xiang Yu was furious. He believed that the generals who had been responsible for the surrender had failed in their duty, and he even suspected that they had colluded with Liu Bang. He declared that he wanted to kill those men. When Chen Ping learned that he might also be dragged into this and executed, he made a crucial decision in his fear. He sealed up the official seal and gold that Xiang Yu had rewarded him with and sent them back to show that he was not greedy for wealth. Then, carrying only his sword, he escaped alone from the Chu camp by a small road, crossed the Yellow River, and went over to Liu Bang. There was another small turn when he crossed the river. The boatman saw that he was traveling alone and suspected that he was carrying gold or silver. Chen Ping noticed this, so he simply took off his clothes, bared his upper body, and helped the boatman row the boat, proving that he had no money on him at all. Only then did he escape being killed. After arriving at Liu Bang's camp, he was introduced through Wei Wuji and was able to meet Liu Bang. After a long conversation with him, Liu Bang greatly admired him and immediately appointed him as a Dui. However, old Han generals such as Zhou Bo and Guan Ying complained to Liu Bang. They said that Chen Ping's character was not upright, that in his hometown he had the stain of dishonoring his brother's wife, and that he was unreliable and changeable, having served Wei, Chu, and Han one after another. They also accused him of taking bribes. Because of this, Liu Bang became suspicious and summoned Chen Ping for questioning. Chen Ping answered frankly. He said, When I served the king of Wei, he would not listen to advice. When I served Xiang Yu, he trusted only his close followers. I heard that the king of Han knew how to use people, so I came 1,000 miles to join him. If my strategies can be used, then keep me. If they cannot, then all the gold you rewarded me with is here. I am willing to return it and leave." After hearing this, Liu Bang's doubts completely disappeared. Instead, he treated Chen Ping even better and gave him a higher position. After that, Chen Ping offered a scheme to sow distrust and successfully drove a wedge between Xiang Yu and Fan Zheng, and also between Xiang Yu and Zhang Li Mo. He became one of the key advisors who helped Liu Bang defeat Xiang Yu. At that time, these actions were seen as wise choices, but they also sparked discussion about morality. Xiang Yu deeply hated those who betrayed others, and this made him unwilling to place real trust in talented outsiders. Liu Bang, by contrast, did not care about a person's background or past. As long as someone was useful, he would employ him. This difference in their approach to using people directly affected the balance of strength between the two sides. In the end, Han Xin chose to be loyal to his own talent and ambition. Although he too was later suspected by Liu Bang and put to death, his performance during the Chu-Han War proved that the movement of talent played a real role in pushing history forward. The fall of Western Xiyu also marked the complete end of aristocratic politics. After that, although there were still feudal kings, their power was placed under strict limits. Centralized rule became an irreversible trend. During the reign of Emperor Wu of Han, the power of the feudal kings was weakened even further through the order of further division, and the hidden dangers brought by the feudal enfeoffment system were completely resolved. Xiang Yu's attempt to restore the old order was proven by history to be unworkable. The development of society needed a more efficient form of organization, and it needed wider channels for participation. Through the recommendation system, the Han dynasty selected talented people to enter government, breaking the aristocracy's monopoly over politics. This institutional innovation came from reflection on the fall of Chen and the defeat of Xiyu. The rulers came to understand that only by allowing people from different levels of society to have a path upward could a regime remain stable. Overall, the Western Xiyu period was an age in Chinese history full of energy and change. It was short, but its content was extremely rich. It witnessed the collapse of the old system and the birth of a new one. It witnessed the rise and fall of heroic figures. It witnessed cultural conflict and cultural fusion. For foreign friends, it may be hard to understand why Chinese people are so fascinated by this part of history from more than 2,000 years ago. That is because in China, history is not only a record of the past, it is itself a part of culture. By telling history, people pass down values and teach later generations. The story of Western Xiyu teaches people what courage is, what wisdom is, and what regret is. It makes people understand that even the strongest person can have moments of weakness. Even the most perfect plan can fail because of the unexpected. This view of history gives Chinese people a kind of broad-minded attitude when facing difficulties in real life. They believe that the world is always changing, that fortune turns in cycles, and that as long as a person keeps trying, there will always be another chance. Part of that belief comes from observing the rise and fall of history.
Alright, that is everything for today. Thank you for listening to Chinese history and mythology. If you enjoy my show, please follow, like, and share it with the people around you. You are also very welcome to leave a comment on my blog and share topics you are interested in at bonniespodcasthandbook.blogspot.com. I am really looking forward to hearing from you. Alright, that is all for today's Chinese history and mythology. See you next episode.
Sky in light, Nua heal the broken heart. Fuxi trace the world's design. Every age leaves stories bright. Yaya dynasty shaped bronze. Sheng dynasty cast oracle bones. Thou dynasty built right. Qin dynasty forged the great walls. Han dynasty opened Silk Road winds. Three kingdoms dynasty turned war to tales. Chen dynasty led ink and mountains bloom. Sui dynasty carved the Grand Canal. Tang dynasty crowned the world with art. Song dynasty raised learning's flame. Yuan dynasty swept the northern plains. Ming dynasty strengthened walls again. Qing dynasty closed an ancient end. Every age leaves stories bright. History and myth ignite in endless light. China's history moves in mystery through the night. Footsteps of this land enchant the world in light. Han dynasty opened Silk Road winds. Three kingdoms dynasty turned war to tales. Qin dynasty led ink and mountains bloom. Sui dynasty carved the Grand Canal. Tang dynasty crowned the world with art. Song dynasty raised learning.